The question sounds simple when you first hear it. There are tigers that weigh 300 kilograms. There are lions, leopards, and jaguars. There are snow leopards, and pumas, and clouded leopards. The cat family produced predators of genuinely enormous size, animals that hunt alone and take down prey much larger than themselves without any assistance. But the biggest wild dog alive today is the gray wolf. And a large gray wolf weighs around 80 kilograms on a good day. The biggest domestic dog breeds get close to that number, but they were engineered by humans specifically to be large, and they still don't come close to a tiger. So why? Cats and dogs have been sharing the same continents for tens of millions of years. They eat similar prey. They live in similar environments. They face the same basic evolutionary pressures. Why did one family scale all the way up to 300 kilograms while the other topped out at 80? First, it helps to define what we're actually comparing. The cat family has 7 species that regularly exceed 100 kilograms. The tiger reaches up to 320 kilograms. These are animals that hunt large prey alone, using ambush, explosive acceleration, and raw power to take down animals that outweigh them. The dog family, which includes wolves, jackals, foxes, has never produced anything close to that scale in the modern era. The gray wolf is the biggest living wild canid, and while 80 kilograms is nothing to dismiss, it's less than a quarter of a tiger's weight. The gap between the largest living cat and the largest living dog is not a small difference. It's the difference between an animal that regularly kills buffalo alone and an animal that needs a pack to reliably take down a deer. The explanation starts with how these two families hunt, because hunting strategy is what drives body size in predators more than almost anything else. Cats are ambush hunters. They locate prey, stalk it, close the distance quietly, and then use a burst of explosive speed to cover the last few meters and make the kill. The entire sequence depends on stealth and power. A cat that misses its initial attack usually loses the chase, because cats are built for short bursts, not long pursuits. This hunting method rewards large, powerful bodies, because a bigger cat can take down bigger prey, and bigger prey means more calories per hunt. A tiger can eat 30 kilograms of meat in a single meal and then not hunt again for several days. The energy return on a successful hunt is enormous, and that return scales with body size. Evolution kept pushing cats larger because larger cats were consistently more successful at this specific style of hunting. Dogs hunt completely differently. Wolves, African wild dogs, and dholes are pursuit hunters. They locate prey, begin chasing it, and run it down over distances that can cover many kilometers, taking turns at the front of the pack to keep fresh runners on the prey animal while others recover. The prey eventually exhausts, slows down, and the pack takes it together. This system doesn't reward individual size the way ambush hunting does. In a pack pursuit, what matters is endurance, coordination, and the ability to communicate and take cues from other pack members. A wolf that weighs 200 kilograms would be slower, less agile, and would burn through energy faster on a long chase. The pack system is already handling the problem of taking down large prey. Individual wolves don't need to get bigger because the pack compensates for any one wolf's limitations. Evolution had no pressure to push individual wolf size beyond what efficient long-distance running requires. The genetic evidence for this shows up clearly when you compare cat and dog genomes side by side. One of the key genes involved in body size across mammals is a growth factor gene that essentially sets the upper limit on how large an individual can grow. In dogs, this gene has a specific variant that strongly constrains body size, keeping animals within a range that suits pack hunting. Researchers studying dog genetics found that this single gene explains a remarkable proportion of the size variation across dog breeds, from the smallest to the largest. The variant that keeps dogs in the wolf size range spread through the canid lineage and became fixed, meaning it became the standard version that almost all canids carry. The cat's version of equivalent growth-regulating genes is different. Felid genomes don't show the same kind of hard constraint on the upper end of body size. The tiger's genome contains the genetic architecture to support 300 kilograms of muscle and bone. The wolf genome simply doesn't. What makes this finding striking is that the constraint in dogs isn't a limitation that appeared because dogs couldn't grow larger. It's a constraint that spread through the population because it was advantageous. Pack hunters that stayed in the efficient size range for long-distance pursuit outcompeted pack hunters that got too large and became slower and more expensive to fuel. The dog genome wasn't blocked from producing larger animals. It was selected away from producing them because the pack system made large individual size a liability rather than an asset. The cats, hunting alone, were selected toward larger size for the opposite reason. The same basic evolutionary process, selection pressure over millions of years, pushed the two families in completely opposite directions because their hunting strategies created completely opposite incentives. The fossil record adds an important complication to this story because large, dog-like predators did exist in the past. The epicyon, an extinct relative of modern dogs, reached around 170 kilograms, which puts it solidly in large cat territory. It lived in North America several million years ago and was built more like a bone-crushing scavenger than a typical pursuit hunter, with a massive skull and teeth designed for processing large carcasses. There were also the amphicyonids, sometimes called bear dogs, which were a separate family of dog-like predators that reached very large sizes and occupied the kind of apex predator role that big cats fill today. These animals existed, they were large, and they all went extinct. The lineages that survived into the modern era were the ones that specialized in pack pursuit hunting, and those lineages settled into the size range that makes pack pursuit work efficiently. The fossil record doesn't show that dogs couldn't get big. It shows that the big dog-like animals went extinct while the pack hunters survived. The disappearance of large dog-like predators happened gradually as the cat family expanded and filled the apex ambush predator role more effectively. Cats are extraordinarily good at the solitary ambush strategy. Their retractable claws, their flexible spines, their ability to move in near silence, and their explosive short-distance acceleration make them more effective at the stalking ambush approach than any canid that has ever existed. As cats grew larger and more refined over millions of years, the ecological space for a large, solitary dog-like predator shrank. The cats occupied that niche and defended it with a body design that was simply better suited to it. The dog family, unable to compete with cats at solitary ambush hunting, doubled down on pack pursuit, which is a strategy cats never developed. The two families ended up in a stable division of labor that has lasted to the present day. The wolf's size limit also reflects something specific that pack hunting requires: the ability to run for a very long time without overheating or exhausting. Wolves can maintain a moderate running speed for hours. They have large lung capacity relative to their body size, efficient heat dissipation, and leg proportions optimized for stride efficiency over long distances. Scaling a wolf up to tiger size would compromise every one of those adaptations. A 200-kilogram wolf would overheat on a long chase. Its legs would carry a weight penalty that reduced endurance. Its food requirements would increase to a point where the pack would need to make kills more frequently, reducing the efficiency advantage that pack hunting provides. The wolf's body is a precision instrument for a specific job, and making it bigger breaks the instrument. Evolution recognized this and selected hard against it, which is why the wolf size limit is so consistent across the entire dog family worldwide. What the DNA comparison revealed, when researchers put cat and dog genomes together and looked at the specific sections controlling growth, is that the two families diverged on this question very early in their evolutionary history. The common ancestor of cats and dogs lived roughly 50 million years ago. Within a relatively short time after that split, the two lineages began developing different approaches to predation, and those approaches locked in different growth trajectories that the genomes have maintained ever since. The felid lineage kept the growth ceiling open. The canid lineage progressively tightened it. By the time lions and tigers were developing in Africa and Asia, the genetic architecture for producing animals their size had already been in place in the cat lineage for millions of years. The wolf lineage, over the same period, was refining the specific size range that makes a pack pursuit predator most effective, and the genome reflects that refinement precisely. The answer that shocked researchers was not that cats could grow bigger than dogs. That was already obvious from looking at the animals. What shocked them was where the constraint came from in dogs. The intuitive assumption was that dogs were physically limited, that some structural or metabolic factor prevented them from scaling up the way cats did. The genetic data showed the opposite. Dogs are not limited by an inability to grow larger. They are limited by a specific genetic variant that spread through the canid lineage because it made pack hunters more efficient. The constraint is not a ceiling that evolution couldn't break through. It's a wall that evolution built deliberately, because staying on the right side of that wall was the winning strategy for an animal that hunts in groups. The dogs didn't fail to get big. They chose not to, at the genomic level, over millions of years of selection that consistently favored smaller, faster, more endurance-capable pack members over larger, slower individuals. This finding reframes the question entirely. The real question isn't why there are no big dogs. The real question is why we assumed dogs and cats should scale to the same sizes in the first place. They are solving fundamentally different problems. A tiger is a one-animal solution to the problem of killing large prey. A wolf pack is a collective solution to the same problem, distributed across multiple smaller animals that coordinate their effort. Both solutions work. Both have persisted for millions of years. The tiger gets to be 300 kilograms because being 300 kilograms is what makes the tiger's solution work. The wolf stays at 80 kilograms because 80 kilograms is what makes the wolf's solution work. The DNA of both animals carries the history of those different solutions, written in the growth genes that set the ceiling for each lineage. The answer was there in the genome the whole time. It just required putting the two genomes side by side and asking the right question. The African wild dog makes the pack hunting case even more clearly than the wolf. African wild dogs weigh between 20 and 30 kilograms, making them one of the smallest apex predators on the continent. They hunt wildebeest, zebra, and impala, animals that individually outweigh any pack member by a factor of 5 or 10. Their success rate, somewhere between 70 and 80% of hunts resulting in a kill, is the highest of any large predator on Earth, higher than lions, higher than leopards, higher than cheetahs. A 30-kilogram animal with a success rate that beats every large cat alive is the clearest possible demonstration that individual size is not what makes a predator effective when the predator hunts in a coordinated group. The African wild dog's genome reflects this. Its growth genes are constrained to produce an animal in the 20 to 30 kilogram range. And that constraint is the reason it's so good at what it does. The cheetah offers an interesting comparison point from the cat side of the divide. The cheetah is the smallest of the big cats in many ways, built for speed rather than power. And it is the one cat that most closely approaches a pursuit hunting style. It chases prey over distances longer than other cats, relying on speed rather than stealth for the final approach. And the cheetah is also the cat that has the most trouble defending its kills, the one that loses prey most often to lions, leopards, and hyenas, the one that can't fight off competitors the way heavier cats can. The cheetah's partial move toward a pursuit hunting style came with a size reduction that left it vulnerable in ways that other cats aren't. It's a small-scale demonstration of the trade-off that the entire dog family made at a much larger scale. Moving toward pursuit hunting means getting smaller, and getting smaller means losing in direct confrontations with bigger animals. The size gap between cats and dogs also explains something about where each family tends to sit in ecosystems around the world. In most environments where both cats and dogs are present, the cats dominate the role of apex ambush predator, while the dogs fill a secondary role as pursuit hunters that take different prey or the same prey by different means. Lions and African wild dogs share the African savanna without directly competing, because they are running such different hunting systems that their niches don't fully overlap. When ecosystems lose their large cats, the dog family doesn't simply scale up to fill the vacancy. The wolf doesn't become a tiger when tigers disappear. The ecological role of the large, solitary ambush predator goes unfilled because the dog family's genome doesn't contain the blueprint to produce the body required for that role. There is also a metabolic dimension to this that the DNA data helps explain. A 300-kilogram tiger needs to consume roughly 6 to 7 kilograms of meat per day on average to maintain its body weight. It can go several days between kills because it eats enormous quantities when it does kill, but the baseline energy requirement is very high. An animal that size living in a pack would create a situation where the entire pack's hunting effort goes toward feeding the largest members, leaving less energy surplus for the smaller members, and reducing the overall efficiency of the group. Pack hunting is efficient precisely because the individual members are small enough that the caloric cost of running them is low relative to the prey they can collectively take down. Tiger-sized pack members would break that efficiency equation, which is another reason the dog genome selected against large individual body size so consistently. The fossil record also shows that every time a large dog-like predator appeared, it was occupying a niche that large cats weren't already filling. The epicyon flourished during a period when the cat family had not yet produced its largest forms in North America. When large cats arrived and expanded their range, the large, dog-like predators that had filled the apex ambush predator role declined and eventually disappeared. This pattern repeated multiple times across different continents and different geological periods. Large, solitary, dog-like predators are consistently outcompeted by large cats when the two are present in the same environment. The cat body plan, with its retractable claws, silent movement, flexible spine, and short burst acceleration, simply outperforms the dog body plan for solitary ambush hunting. The dogs that survived were the ones that moved away from that competition entirely by developing the pack system. One detail from the genomic research that researchers found particularly striking was how recently the growth constraint in dogs appears to have tightened. While the basic division between cat and dog hunting strategies goes back tens of millions of years, the specific genetic variants that set the modern wolf's size ceiling became dominant in the canid lineage much more recently, during the last few million years. This timing corresponds to the major expansion of the cat family in Africa and Eurasia, when lions, tigers, and leopards were spreading across the continents and establishing themselves as the dominant large predators. As the cats expanded, the evolutionary pressure on dogs to stay in the efficient pack hunter size range intensified, and the growth-constraining variants that had existed in the canid lineage became increasingly dominant. The cats didn't just outcompete the large dog-like predators directly. They created the conditions that made the dog genome select harder against large individual size. What this means practically is that the question of big cats and no big dogs is not really a question about physical limits. It's a question about two different answers to the same problem, and how those answers play out over millions of years of evolution. The cat's answer was one very large, very powerful animal that can solve the prey problem alone. The dog's answer was many medium-sized animals that coordinate to solve the prey problem together. Both answers work. Both have been stable for millions of years. The DNA of the tiger and the wolf both carry the record of their respective answers, written in the growth genes and the hunting behavior genes that separate the two lineages. The tiger's genome says, "Get as big as the prey requires." The wolf's genome says, "Stay as efficient as the pack requires." Neither genome is wrong. They're just answering different questions.